When we first arrived here, the roof of that cab was basically completely against that building, and that's what we were hearing. We were hearing them talk about how the driver is, he is alive, and they have sedated him at this point, but right now is still trapped, very trapped in there. Basically, the building is what's holding him in place, the reason why they can't get him free. So when heavy rescue showed up, one of the first things they did was they evaluated how that truck is against that building, into that building. They had to make sure that if they start moving that truck or trying to pull it free, that the firefighters are safe, the victim would be safe, and it wouldn't create more problems for anybody trying to do that rescue or that victim. They basically said thumbs up, we're going to go ahead and do it. And in just recent moments, I'm not sure if you noticed, but there were a couple of quick jolts, and they were basically pulling that truck free. Some people at home might say, well, why don't they just pull it all the way out? There's probably a reason. I can guarantee it to you. These are some of the finest firefighters in the world, and they understand this situation, and they understand what will happen if they would just pull that truck out of there. So they did make some clips. They cut those pillars. I'm going to show you one of them right there on that truck. They did it on the opposite side as well. They're probably going to try to move the roof, but again, in this situation, I'm not going to second guess anything these guys are doing down there. That victim, definitely alive, getting them out of this safely. That is the big task right now. They've talked about other things as far as the utilities to the building. All of that's been shut off. The power, the battery for the truck, those cables have been cut. So there is no chance of fire, or much less of a chance of fire. There's always a possibility something might pop up. But again, that driver still alive inside that vehicle. Firefighters from LA City working to free him and to get him to safety and to a hospital. He does have severe injuries. I'm working with Tyler, Tyler, at the tiller of Skyfox this afternoon. We're going to try to move just around a little bit. There's probably more than one firefighter inside that cab. That back window, you can see one of them halfway in there. We saw them earlier on kind of just pulling things out, like possibly cutting the seat, trying to make it so that they can create more of a gap to get that driver out. Right now, I'm hearing a little bit of the extrication group. That's what they're calling them. They're going to try to, that's what they're talking about, they're going to try to lift the cab's roof, basically bend it back. So when they do that, there's actually a roll bar type of situation right there. That isn't just a roll bar, but is also designed for an accident like that, so that load does not impale the driver. We are unclear if any of that load actually made it, basically broke through some of that steel into that cab. But right now, I just heard them talking that they are actually going to try to lift that rooftop up to make it so possibly that's going to be the way they'll pull that victim free. Right now, though, there's probably several firefighters inside there. Every now and then, at one point, we actually did get a glimpse, just like a side view of the driver basically pinned in there. And again, it's not the truck metal that is holding that driver in place. It's the actual building itself. At one point, we heard them talking that some of the urban rescue, the USAR group, was inside the building, seeing if they could possibly move some of the debris inside the building to basically maybe make a pathway or to alleviate the problem that's holding that driver of the crashed big rig in there. Right now, though, it's still a very active plan, very fluid. And in this case, this is one of those ones, again, where, the training that's involved, the how all these firefighters work together. This isn't a bunch of guys coming up with different ideas, just randomly trying it. They really, truly are working together as a team to get that driver out of that vehicle and to safety. Definitely, and you can see one of these firefighters right now making cuts on that rooftop. They might be trying to pull some of those panels out. Possibly that is what is up against that driver inside that inside that cab of that truck. You can see there are different teams working together right now to get that driver to safety. But we just heard them talking that they were talking about, like, the next big plan is to try to lift the roof of that cab or bend it back somehow to get to that driver more easily. Possibly they're going to lift him out of it, straight up, as opposed to trying to take him out that passenger side right there. But the amount of work and the coordination that is going on is amazing just to save this one person. And again, how this accident happened, this is going to be something that they're going to discuss later on. But you can see that this roadway right here, that's going to be Chautauqua, very, very steep. Unclear if, maybe that white line was part of that, whatever that accident was. But right now, hang on. I didn't catch exactly what they're... So now they're coordinating, they're on the radios, and they're talking a little bit more about maybe they're going to try an alternate plan. I don't, it's one of those ones, like I said when we started, these people at home might be saying, well, why don't they just, you've got that massive tow truck there that could easily lift this thing up, but that is not one of the options. They ruled that out earlier on, and right now they're working on other options on how they could possibly move that vehicle or get that driver unpinned, as it would be, from inside that cab. One of the guys that's doing the coordination, I just heard him say, he's standing inside the passenger side of the door. So he is right there watching what is going on. That truck definitely has been secured every time they make that move or every time they lift that truck a little bit. Other folks or other firefighters are down there and they're chalking it up, basically putting blocks underneath the frame of the vehicle so that if something would happen or there was a slack on those lines, that truck wouldn't lunge back in or fall back into place, possibly injuring firefighters and or that driver. But it's definitely a lot of work down there, a lot of coordinated effort, and you can see them coming up with alternate plans as other firefighters are working closer to that cab. How are they going to get this guy out? It's going to be still very tough. And could you just imagine being in that driver's seat right now and just, unable to move, understanding what's going on around you? And, like I said, you've got your life in these rescuers' hands. Mangled in a crash, or you've been in that crash, and now you're unable to move. You're unable to get out. You are literally pinned inside that vehicle. These firefighters now, as I understand it, they are working to find something. I thought maybe they were going to start cutting some of that tin roof away to maybe make it easier to get that victim out. But now, as I'm understanding it, they might actually be looking for a joist or something solid in that roof to attach that chain that you're seeing right there. There they go. So they're going to attach that chain to a roof joist in there and create some sort of pulley system to possibly move or bend some of the metal out of the way. And again, you can see one of the not hydraulic tools anymore, but cordless tools right there. And they might actually be using those jaws to either pull it together to bend something or pull it apart. But right now we're going to keep an eye on it, watching what these guys do. Again, amazing how they come up with these ideas on the fly to work together to safely do these type of extrications where they bend metal, cut things to get that driver of this out of that cab, and again, just get him to a hospital to get him to the help that he needs. Breathing room, definitely what they're talking about. Again, I'm kind of watching with everybody. I don't have any secret line to what's going on down there. So many times, like in this case, they're so close together that they're not using the radio to discuss plans or because they're talking to each other. I can see that there's a jack being held I'm trying to put it in the center of the screen right there. There's a hydraulic jack that they placed right there on that rooftop to help bend the truck roof out of the way. That Jaws of Life is behind that one firefighter. You can see him moving it right now. And what are they trying to do? I don't really know. Maybe they're using this chain to maybe even bend some of that roof more out of the way, maybe to pull the roofing back from the house, from the building, is what they're thinking right there. But clearly they have a better view. Clearly they have a better understanding about what's going on. And you can see, again, the teamwork involved on how they're going to make this all happen. And all this on a rooftop. It is a little hot out there right now, but these firefighters, they've got their specialized gear on, which also, if you've ever worn any of that, it is there as safety. But it really does make a lot of the movement more difficult. But these guys, they train in it. They live in it. This is how they do all their work. And right now, if you're just tuning in, there is a live driver still inside that cab. And all this is right now is to free that driver and get him to the hospital. Definitely, and when we first arrived, the USAR wasn't even here. Heavy rescue was on scene, but they had not deployed any of their hooks or their chains at that time. Right now, you can see the Jaws of Life has been pulled tight. So, and you've got the chain up working from that roof rafter, and the other portion of the chain unsure where it's going, possibly just kind of wrapping around that tin roof, and maybe they're doing this to pull some of that roofing away off to the right side of the screen, as it would be, to get more room to get into that cab, to get that driver free. And as far as that rooftop, definitely, when we first arrived, those lights that you see on that cab were basically up against that roof of the home. So you can see the firefighters inside there. I don't really want to. I mean, there's a little bit. We're not going to see anything that we can't put on television. Like, there's nothing that gruesome, and if we did, we will move very quickly. But you can see all those helmets in there, and all around those firefighters, there is a driver that is trapped inside this truck, and they're all working to free that driver together. Well, the injuries that we've heard were mostly facial injuries, which is, I could imagine, are very, very painful. I know that these paramedics, when they have a trapped victim like that, one of the first things they do actually is they establish some sort of IV. If they've done that, I can't say 100%. I have seen that in the past. Where the gurney is set right there, I'm just guessing by what we're seeing right there is the plan still is to pull that driver out of that passenger side once they can get that driver free of whatever is pinning him inside that cab. These firefighters on the roof clearly doing their work to move portions of the roof out of the way. Other firefighters inside working to maybe bend some of the metal, also keeping an eye on making sure that that driver, there aren't any other medical issues that are coming into play, and all the rest of them, they're basically there for support if anything else needs to be moved at that time. When we first arrived, most of this scaffolding had come off the back of the truck and was laying right here. The firefighters that were basically not assigned to something, all working very quickly to clear the pathway to get so that other firefighters can have an easier area to work with. A lot of that load, I'm hoping, did not puncture the backside of that cab, but that impact into this home this afternoon definitely pinned that driver. And you have to, and this is not a cab over truck. Some folks might be looking right there. I'm guessing that this is actually the whole engine and everything may be inside there. But then again, now that I'm saying it out loud, this could be just a cab over, but still a good portion of that cab inside that home. And you can see just by that roof line how far that actual building made it inside the cab of that truck. Just by following that line right there, you make it imaginary. So that driver, when they said that he was pinned against the building, it all kind of makes sense. And just think of the terror, what is going on in that driver's mind. But these guys, they're working diligently, and they are on a timer. There is no doubt about that. And they've been here for more than a few minutes, and the rescue still ongoing. That driver still trapped. Well, you know what? The actual exact reason is only known by those firefighters down there. But we have seen this in the past, that when they move that vehicle, it could be moving up, it could be moving down. It is not going to be a clean removal of that vehicle, and all that kind of motion could impale or possibly even, sad to say, kill the driver that is pressed up against that building inside the cab. So those are the reasons why they can't just move it out of the way. When they did, they moved it probably, literally, if they moved it a foot, I would say that was quite a bit. And they didn't do it in one swift, yank. They did it in a couple, I counted 3 short bursts of movement. And every time it was planned, and they made sure that, that the driver wasn't getting more pinned in there. There wasn't more of an issue, and they were keeping that driver as safe as possible. You had mentioned that there's a number of people inside that cab with the driver. Clearly there is, and clearly they are still working. These firefighters, the ones that have the USAR labels on their back, I'll kind of do even more of a zoom right there. Those guys are specialized. Those are urban search and rescue. That's what USAR stands for, if anybody needed to know that. But they work in these confined spaces. They work in teams all the time. They work in a way where they are rescuing the person that needs to, the victim, safely. And when I say that, that means that they need to make sure that their firefighters aren't going to put themselves in danger, or they are, but they don't want to see any of their firefighters getting injured. And so they work very diligently. They train all the time. And this type of thing, you have to just think how many different ideas they're coming up with, how they're all working as a team to free that one trapped victim. It really is amazing to see. And again, the physics involved, how they plan this stuff, how they look at things, because we're just looking at it. I always make that comment. I'm just a guy in the back of a helicopter watching these things unfold. We don't know. I'm sure there are reasons why they aren't just yanking the truck out and getting to that driver. I'm sure there are reasons why they haven't just completely peeled that roof back. They could easily make a cut across there and just remove that section. We've watched them. But right now, the work continues. That's right, and you know what? I just heard them talking. Like I said, a lot of times they will talk a lot on the radios, and this time they don't because they're all standing near each other. The update that I just heard them talk about is the driver's leg is trapped. So every time they move the truck, hang on one second. So the condition of the condition of the patient's still stable. That's excellent news for everybody involved. But apparently his leg is what is trapped down there. So maybe what we're watching there with all this activity on the cab, on the roof there, that roof line, is probably more for access for the firefighters to get in closer, to get to whatever has pinned that driver's leg to the point where they cannot get the driver out safely. That also might be one of the reasons why they just don't pull it out of the way, because possibly the movement of the truck will move something in a way where it'll actually hurt or pin that driver in even more. This is the first time I heard them talk about what extremity is the problem, and a leg is what they're talking about right now. So these firefighters on the roof continue to, you can see them continuing with the plans, and even on the TAC channel, they just mentioned they have several teams working with different plans on how to get that driver free. But right now, his leg is still trapped, but his condition is stable. Definitely not all firefighting is out here in Los Angeles. You know, we have earthquakes. Those are the ones where USAR will become very, very busy, especially if there's building collapses. But anytime we see a bad crash out there, every fire department, they call it different things. LA City Fire will call that a physical rescue. A lot of times, by the time USAR arrives, the other firefighters, they have some of that equipment on all of these trucks. But this one right there, that is basically, and we've seen it in the past. When I say it's a rolling hardware store, I mean they carry lumber in there, steel beams, any tool that you can possibly imagine, specialized tools that we've been talking about, that can cut through steel, cut through just about any type of anything, any material to get somebody free if they need to. Right now, though, we haven't seen much of that activity anymore. There is definitely a jack holding that rooftop up, and that would be something else. If they would move that truck again, they would have to lower all these things down. They would have to remove anything that they have right now in place to make that move. Again, a lot of times these cables that you see going to that to what they call heavy rescue, I'm going to use the simple term tow truck, but that is a boom that, or basically a crane almost. They use this more for stabilization, to make sure that that truck doesn't move at all, even inches, or settles or rolls somehow while they're doing these rescues. When that truck was up against the building earlier on, if they would have done all these cutting and all that, that truck probably would have moved even more, injuring the victim even more. So right now, it is just more. It's just more of the of rescue and how they're going to do it. And their slow motion isn't lack of activity or indecisiveness. It basically is they have to figure out how they're going to do this safely, how they're going to move this, get whatever is pinning that leg in place. They're going to be able to move it in a way where it doesn't make the injuries any worse, and be able to get that victim free. And also, again, that big S word, safety. Everybody needs to be safe while they're doing these activities. If you want, do an orbit. Definitely, and so many times you hear, we hear these calls, and we get there on scene, and thank goodness it is not as advertised, or it is a lot less than. This one, it had all the earmarks of something tragic. When we heard the location, usually these are going to be steep hills. They didn't say a car; they said a truck. So then right away you're thinking construction. You're thinking, because we're right here at the Palisades, where all that construction is going on for the rebuild from the fires. And in this case, it really was everything you hoped it wouldn't be. You had a heavy truck loaded with scaffolding on a steep road. Something happened, and tragically it went into the side of a building down there. This gives you a different perspective. You can see that what we were looking at, and also, you'd think that on Pacific Coast Highway that this is some sort of, a business of some sort, but apparently these actually are residents right there. Nobody inside that building was injured, maybe not even at home at the time of the crash, but that driver definitely trapped inside that truck, and in the worst way. If it would have been, the opposite, at least if the driver would have been on the passenger side somehow, then he would not have been as pinned. It seems like the brunt of the accident really pinning that driver in there. You can see some of that bent door still in place there where they can't get it out. Somewhere in that, all that mangledness of the damage and the bodies of the firefighters is that driver. And apparently, as we said, still stable in condition. That is fantastic news. And you can see some more of of what they're doing and how they're doing it. Now they're resorting more to the old-fashioned the hand crank type of. I know the technical term for that that hoist. It's a hoist is what they're doing. That machine right there is a chain hoist. So they are basically pulling on that chain hoist, trying to move something out of the way. And I would guess it actually is going to be what they're trying to move out of the way is some of the building. And they anchored the chain to the building to get some of that out of the way, basically bending it, pushing it, pulling it out of the way so that the rescuers can free the driver's leg to get that driver out of that wreckage. The other portion of this is, we don't know. Maybe this is just the first portion of what they need to do. Maybe they're talking about getting the building portion out of the way so that they can get to something from the truck to move that, to get that driver out of the way. I think we just saw a quick glimpse of the driver in there. I did see somebody without any firefighting anything on, with a pair of glasses, and I think that is actually the driver. So he is awake enough to be moving around, and you just got to think to yourself, I mean, I have a phobia. I could not imagine what it would be like to be trapped inside there, in pain and trying and working to get him out. I think they're going to start pulling him out right now. Let's move Skyfox around, please. Both legs are free, and they're in the process of getting him out of the truck. And again, they don't do it. Yes, then they don't do anything quickly, and there is clearly a reason for that. Everything, they got to be careful. They got to make sure that, like you saw, they just removed one of those hydraulic jacks out of the way. They've got to make sure that everything is safe when they pull them out. I have to be quick to draw if this is going to be something that we can't show on television. Can clearly see the hand of the driver right there, reaching, holding out. This is his first moments being freed from that wreckage. And again, they're pulling him out. They're going to put him on that gurney. Then they're going to place him on this one. And then they're going to take him and put him into an ambulance and get him off to a local hospital quickly. There you go. You can see that driver coming out. This is the first moments of him being freed from that wreckage. Amazing work by these firefighters. You know what? And I give hats off to Live Nation. I love what you guys do. I love how you do all the breaking news around the nation. I'm honored to be part of it. Thank you. Thank you so much. What's up, brother? Where? Skyvox, Simon Desk. The victim is free and possibly a chase going on. LAPD. What did you think? I'll see if I can listen in. Skyvox, Simon Desk. LAPD got something going on that we might be interested in too. Central traffic. Well, they still need airport stuff, even though we're running. I'm trying to find it. I don't hear it on LAPD. I heard suspect in custody. Let's go.